Okay, so today I have a question for you. And I usually don't ask questions without having some idea of a solution. More to follow on that. Right now, the question that I have for you is, how do you find shippers? Shippers that you do business with on a day in and day out basis, the shippers that are going to provide the revenue for your business, the customers that are going to be the lifeline of your business. How do you find those customers? Where do you look for those customers? And I'm not talking about Amazon or Walmart, because for some reason everybody thinks that freight brokers start off working with big companies like Amazon or Walmart. And although those are great companies, you can move freight with those companies. I've been moving freight for over 6 years. Millions of dollars in freight moved, and I've never moved a load with Walmart or Amazon. They are definitely not the only players. As a matter of fact, there's a whole lot that you've never heard of, which is why I'm asking you, how do you find shippers? Because without shippers, your business can't make money. All of this talk about how much freight brokers make, what a lucrative opportunity it is, it means absolutely nothing. It's just a bunch of happy talk. And what I call happy talk is people get a lot of excitement around freight brokering, especially when they first get started. But then they run into a wall. And the wall that they run into is that they realize, oh my God, it's going to be a real problem for me to find shippers. I don't know where to look. So in today's video, I'm going to take you into my computer and I'm going to show you exactly how to find shippers to work with your freight broker business. Because at the end of the day, customers will determine whether you're successful or not in this business. So now let's get into the business. So before we get into the video, just in case you don't know, I always put freight first. Freight comes before anything. And the reason why that is because in business, it's important to put first things first. And what comes first in this business before anything else is freight. You must get freight because freight is the gold. It's the attractant. It's what's going to attract carriers. People ask me sometimes, hey, Brandon, why don't you put carriers first? Well, that's a good question. You should always ask why. But why I don't put carriers first is because I know that carriers are attracted to freight. Yes, I have to build relationships with carriers, but I know that once I have freight, then I have something to negotiate with. I have something to build that relationship with. Can you go out and start talking to carriers before you get freight? Sure you can. But in my experience, carriers don't usually want to talk to me if I don't have freight. They don't want to talk about freight that I'm going to get next month. They want to talk about freight that I have right now, because it's time to make money now. So I put freight first because it's the most important thing in this business, especially if you're a non-asset freight broker like me, which simply means you don't own your own equipment. You don't own your own trucks. And if you don't own your own trucks, the next best thing that you can have some controllership over is, guess what? Freight. Because trucks need freight. So they have to come to you if you have controllership of the freight. So that's why I think freight should be priority number one. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and check the computer out and show you exactly how to find shippers. Okay, so now I want to give you an idea of how we go about looking for shippers. There are different ways of doing this. Different people do it different ways, but I want to show you my way. Now, as you can see here, you don't notice me on Blue Book, McCrae's Blue Book, or Produce Universe. The reason why I don't use that is because to me, Google is just as good or better than those resources are. The reason why I say that is because you still have to explore the lead. They are just leads. Their leads are all in one place. Somebody has already gone out and supposedly has done the legwork to give you the numbers, but you still have to go in and explore the lead. You still have to find out who the shipper is. So I would rather do it the way of going out and looking for the information myself. That way I'm going to be more aware of what's going on with the customer because I'm doing the work. I'm putting the work in, doing the research on my own, and then I'm starting to explore the contact. I think it's important also to get direction when it comes down to what type of freight you're going to move. Because you can be all over the place when you're looking for dry van freight, refrigerated freight, and flatbed freight. So for me, I'm not the type of guy that can be in too many different areas at one time. I have to go ahead and focus in one area because then I feel more direction and I don't feel like I'm all over the place and get overwhelmed. So what I am going to do is to choose which area, which niche would I like to explore. And in my case, I'm going to say refrigerated freight. Within refrigerated freight, what type of freight do I want to move? So I'm going to say dairy products or cheese products within the refrigerated sector. That way, I know exactly what it is that I'm looking for. Now I can go into Google and start the process of looking for my shippers. All right, so now let's start the process of actually looking for shippers, looking for the customers that we're going to be doing business with. Now, if you notice in Google, I've already gone in and put these phrases: cheese distributors in Appleton, Wisconsin, cheese distribution in Wisconsin, cheese in Wisconsin, cheese warehouses in Appleton, Wisconsin. We want to put a place, because then, of course, that narrows the search even more. So if we say cheese warehouses in Wisconsin, we'll start off with a broader search. Now, we're not saying places that sell cheese or cheese shops. We're looking for warehouses or distribution centers because we want to move freight from those centers, okay? We're not looking for cheese for us to eat, but cheese for us to move. Wisconsin Cheese Mart, that's like a cheese shop here, it says. Let's still look at that, see what it says over here when we look at the picture, okay? So when I see this picture right here, and although it says Cheese Mart, it makes me want to go into this and take a look at it even further, because that may be something that I'm looking for. Okay. It says Wisconsin Cheese Mart, specialty market, features hundreds of cheeses plus wine. That might not be what I'm looking for. So we'll back out of that one and go back into, we see Katie Cheese Factory and Shop here. That looks like another shop. Weyawega, Star Dairy Incorporated. And then we see that this says warehouse. And when we go here, take a look, we don't see anything over there, but that's definitely something we want to click into and take a look at a little further. All right, it gives me the contact information. Then it comes down and it shows me a picture. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this type of facility because I can look at this and see that this is a warehousing area, says it here, and it gives me the information. So this is one contact that I would put on my customer spreadsheet, and I would do some research on it, and I would start contacting Weyawega, Star Dairy Incorporated as one of my options to see if we can start working with those folks. We're gonna put cheese distributors in Appleton, Wisconsin. Home, Lamers Dairy Incorporated. Locally owned and family operated. That's certainly one you want to contact. I like to work with family owned companies. So let's click inside there and see what we come up with. See what it looks like. What you're gonna notice is a lot of this is just doing the research. It's like almost like you're a beagle hound and you're trying to sniff out all of the leads. You're trying to figure out who is available to work with you. Okay. Locally owned. Take a look at the team there. See if they got any contact information on here. Yes, I see a phone number here. It's a 920 number here and an 866 number. So I have some contact information. It's a lead that we can start to explore. Now let's go into AgriPure here. Dairy Foods Magazine. Let's see what they're saying about AgriPure. Comes out and it gives us some contact information of AgriPure, 2701 Freedom Road. Then it gives us a contact phone number, 920 number. So we would definitely take down that information and consider it as a contact. Let's go and see what else we can find on AgriPure, because they have aroused my intuition here. Let's see what we got. AgriPure. I want to read this and make sure. It says AgriPure is a top supplier of frozen mozzarella sticks to the worldwide food service and CPG retail channels. Produced in our Little Chute, Wisconsin plant. That's definitely what we want to find out more about. This is the type of company we're looking for. Let's click on that. The cheese maker of choice, AgriPure Cheese. Looks like a facility there. You go and click on that, they'll play. Now let's see what we're working. 1 billion pounds of cheese produced each year, 2,500 dedicated employees, 7 cheese production plants in 5 states. Oh yes, this is exactly what we're looking for. So this is one of the companies that we'll put on our contact, and we'll reach out to them and definitely see if we can do business with this company. And we'll go back here and we'll get the contact information. And we'll copy that information right there, and we'll put this customer on our customer contact sheet. And once I find the type of company I'm looking for, then I want to know who their competitors are. So I just put in AgriPure competitors, and it comes up and it shows me some different information here. The top 10 competitors in AgriPure's competitive set are Arnua, Saputo, Parmalat, Foremost Farms. So I'm getting a lot of different information just from putting in who their competitors are. That's going to give me access to different types of shippers that may ship cheese or milk. We just have to look into it a little bit further. And as you can see, it comes down, says AgriPure's competitors, revenue, number of employees, even shows here AgriPure Incorporated company profile. We'll click into that. You can see that it shows us all of, let's big it up a little bit. So it gives us the address of the company, gives us a phone number here, and then it tells us something about the company. It says the company description here is located in Wisconsin, United States. It's a part of dairy products manufacturing industry, has 319 total employees across all of its locations, generates over 180 million in sales. So quick recap of what we just discussed. Number one, we talked about the importance of freight. Freight is the most critical piece. That's the piece that we have to conquer in order to be successful as freight brokers. You have to acquire customers for your business, otherwise you don't have a business. There's a way to do that. Different people do it in different ways. We showed you our way, and we're gonna give you a quick recap of that. Number one, when you're going out getting shippers, you have to decide on what type of platform you're going to use. Are you just going to go to Google route, which I definitely like and suggest because it's free and it's a very good route to go. You can find whatever you need on Google. Or you can go the McRae's Blue Book or the Produce Universe route, where you can have all of your leads in one place and you can go in and just start sourcing leads. Either way works, just depends on what you want to do. Don't make a whole big fuss about that. Just choose a way and go to work as quickly as possible. The next thing that we talked about was choosing a niche. Are you going to work in refrigerated freight, flatbed freight, or dry van freight? I think it's very important to choose an area. That way you're not all over the place. You are directed, you have more guidance because you're in one area and you're looking for something in specific instead of just looking all over the place for everything, because it can kind of make you get overwhelmed because you feel like you're in this big, huge ocean and you don't know what to look for. But when you narrow the space and you're just dealing with one thing, it's a much easier way to go about the business, in my opinion. And then finally, we talked about once we find a customer, we want to find out who their competitors are, because just like we work with the customer, we also want to work with their competitors because we don't discriminate. So we're going to do a simple Google search, just put whoever that customer is and their competitors, and then we're going to start to source that information. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. This business is about finding customers, finding those shippers, and then offering your service and continuing to do that so that you can win in this business. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.